Om Shuklam Varadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavighnopashantaye Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so we are looking at these Yaksha Prashna's questions that were raised by Yaksha to Yudhishthira at the lake in Mahabharata. So continuing from last time, let's look at this. Yaksha uvacha kim svidapatatam shreshtham kim svinnipatatam varam kim svid pratishtamananam kim svid prasavatam varam. So here it's interesting, these questions. So you have to look at, I think, the context there. It's an agricultural society, at that time. So he asked these questions. What is the greatest among certain things which you see, So among apatata means among things that fall, among things that come down from the sky. What is the greatest? What is the most exalted? What is Shreshtham? What is the most exalted among the things that are scattered, things that are thrown around? What is that which gives stability and support? And what is it that prasavatam varam? Prasavatam means the one from procreation. Of all the things that are procreated, what is the one that is the most exalted? It's almost like some kind of a question, it has to do with an economic status, success, and all that. So for which Yudhishthira replies, Varsham apatatam sreshtham, bijam nipadatam varam, gavaha pratishtamananam, putraha prasavatam varaha. So among things that fall, that which is the most exalted, the most desirable, one can say, is Varsham. Varsham is the rains, the waters. So of all the things that could come down from the sky to us, to the earth, that which is the most important, that which in fact sustains all of us, is the rain, So this rain is what gives the food. Parjanyat annam sambhavaha. From the rains is born the food. And annad bhavanti bhutani. From the food are even born and sustain all the living beings. So thus, of all the things that could come down, it is the rains that are the most important for us, the most exalted. Then, so among things that are sown, Vipatannam also means to sow, like sowing the seeds. So among things which are sowed, it is the scattered, it is the throwing of the seeds that are the most important, because so obviously the seeds are the one that give us the rain, the grains and the plants and everything. So whatever you spread, in fact, whatever you sow is what you get. It also is talking of life in a sense. So yadrisham vapate bijam, tadrisham labate phalam, it is said, So as whatever, depending on what you sow, in English also, same, whatever as you sow, so you reap. We also have a saying like that. Yadrisham vapate bijam, tadrisham labate phalam. So, and if you sow the right kind of seeds, then you get the right kind of harvest. So it's important too. So it's like to do with karma also. As you do the action, so you reap the results. So then pratishta mananam, what is it that gives the stability and support to us? What is it that does that? For which he says gavaha. So cows. So this you have to keep the agricultural society in context. So in those days, the cow was the one that was the economic support to for everything. So in terms of the farming, in terms of what it gave, the more cows a person had, the more economic stability and support they had. So, and of course, comes with prasavatam. Prasavatam means of all the things that are born, the progeny. What is it? That is Varam Shreshtham, the exalted one. He says Putraha. So the son. So in again, so here it is in terms of the patriarchy. That society, our society is primarily a patriarchal society, even though there are some groups which are matriarchal, but it's a patriarchal society. So in a patriarchal society, so the son is the one who carries the name of the family. So the son was not only that, even from a religious standpoint. So because the son is the one who does because he sustains the family name, he also does the kriyas, he does the karmas. So when a person dies, it is the son that does all the ceremonies. So the son becomes important from that standpoint also. Progeny is interesting. There is an interesting word in terms of progeny. Progeny is also what comes from you. What is what you create. So there's an interesting thing. This progeny in terms of virtues is talked about. So there is a verse that says, Jnane maunam kshama shaktau tyage shlagha viparyayaha guna gunanubandhitva tasya suprasava iva. So progeny also has to be suprasava. It's a good progeny. If you have a good progeny, then your life has some joy. If the progeny gives you a hard time, then you are miserable. So what is a good progeny in terms of virtues is talked about. So jnane maunam, jnanam. So when knowledge is there, the progeny of knowledge is maunam or silence. The person who knows, which is true, the person who knows doesn't talk much about what he knows. The person who knows less generally tends to talk more because he's trying to convince other people and also himself or herself about how much he knows. They say empty vessels make more noise, full vessels make less noise. So here also we say jnanam. So for knowledge, the good progeny is maunam or quietness, silence. Kshama shaktau, for shakti. So for a strong person, if I have strength, then the strong person, the good progeny for the strong is kshama. Kshama is accommodation. So the person has to be accommodating, not a bully. The progeny of strength can be a bully or it can be kshama, either way. So good progeny is kshama, he says. Kshama shaktau. Then tyage shlagha viparyaya, which is the tyaga, when you give up. So in doing tyaga, the progeny of tyaga is so absence of abhimana, absence of praising oneself. People give up things, and then the next thing they do after they give up is start talking about what all they gave up. So when you start talking about what you give up, then that is not true giving up. So for giving up doesn't mean then you boast about what you gave up. Giving up means there is absence of self-praise. That is also called as a. So this is says gunanu banditva. So for these virtues, when you get certain virtues in life, then the consequence of that virtues can be both positive and negative. So here a positive consequence of a virtue is like a suprasava, eva. It's like a good progeny. So progeny that brings you joy rather than a progeny that brings you sorrow. Yaksha uvacha indriyarthan anubhavan buddhiman loka pujitaha samata sarvabhutanam Ushvasan ko na jivati. So, indriyarthan anubhavan. So having enjoyed, having experienced, having enjoyed. So all the indriyarthas, the sense organs. So the sense objects, having lived a life in essence, essentially. So having lived a full life, buddhiman, the one who is an intelligent person, a knowledgeable person. Loka pujitaha. He is also one who is so worshipped or respected by the people around him. Loka pujitaha. Samataha. The one who is liked by people. Sarva bhutanam samataha. The one who is liked by all. Such a person, he says, Ushvasan na jivati. Even though he is living, he na jivati. He is not alive. So a person who is so accomplished and who is intelligent, who's liked by people, who's well respected. So he's saying such a person, even though he is breathing, he's still not alive. What kind of a person is that? What is it that makes such a person? For which Yudhishthira replies, Devatadi Brityanam Pitrunam Atmanaschayaha Nan Nirvapati Panchana Uchrasan Na Jivati Nasa Jivati. He says, so such a person, if he doesn't do this, Devata Atithi Brityanam. Devata is the gods, of course. Atithi is a guest. Then Brityanam. Britya is the people who serve him. Pitranam. Pitra is his own ancestors. And Atmanaha. And himself also Yaha. Panchanam Nirvapati. If he doesn't honor or recognize these 5 things, he says, such a person is not really, life is not worth it for him, in other words. So what is it that makes a full life really for us? One has to recognize this. That's why we have this Pancha Mahayajnas. One of the Nitya Karmas that scripture talks about is the Pancha Mahayajnas. So we have certain obligations. We have certain debt that we owe to certain things in life, because of which we are here, and because of which we continue to live our life. So we owe, we are not entitled just for things. The fact that I'm here, the fact that I'm living, the fact that I'm being sustained is because of so many factors, so many things, so many people who have gone before me, people who are around me. So thus, because of them, since I survived, I am indebted to them. And because I'm indebted to them, I have to give back. And I give back in terms of honoring them, recognizing them. And there are these 5 things of which I have to pay back on a daily basis. This is what is called as a Nitya Karma for all of us. Every day we are supposed to do this. And the Nitya Karma is done in terms of certain actions which are called as yajnas. So we call Pancha Maha Yajnas. So of which one is Brahma Yajnam. Brahma Yajnam is so the giving back to the tradition. So Brahman is Bhagavan here in terms of knowledge, Brahma Jnanam. So the way I pay my debt of Brahma Yajna is by doing study, Swadhyaya, you know. So Swadhyaya is Brahma Yajna. By studying the scriptures is how I pay back the debt of what I owe to the scriptures. If I don't study them, then I don't even know what they are. In fact, in order to pay back to the scriptures that go back, what's that? Okay, okay, that go back. So I study the Vedas. That is Brahma Yajna. That's called Brahma Yajna. Then there is Pitru Yajna. I owe a debt to my ancestors, so which I pay back by doing. So remembering them on a daily basis. Pitrus and also Rishis, in fact, they go together. Deva Yajnam, that part I fulfill my responsibility to the Devas in terms of prayers. So daily prayers are part of my duty. And then there is Bhuta Yajna, which is so giving back to the creatures. Because I hurt a lot of creatures, knowingly or unknowingly, that are there around me in living. And so, okay, I think you should try and mute the mic, so that we don't hear the background noise. Huh? Is it a computer? It sounds like a dog, I think. Yeah. But anyway, in either case, the mic can be muted. And then the Bhuta Yajnam is giving back to the other beings, which is in the form of. So we do Bhuta by giving food, really speaking. So every day we are supposed to feed some animals, birds, etc. And then finally there is Atithi Yajna, which is giving back to people, which is in terms of, so whoever comes, Atithi is an unknown, uninvited person who happens to come by, we treat them honorably. So this is the way we give back. So he uses some of that. He says Devata, Atithi, Bhrityas. He talks of Bhrityas. Bhagavan is a Raja. So I guess as a king, from a princely standpoint, he is surrounded by servants. He includes them, people who are serving him. Then Pitranam, all the Pitras, and Atmanaha also, and oneself. So you have duties, responsibility towards the oneself. If you don't pay back in all of this, then he's saying you may have accomplished so many things in life and even be recognized by people. But really speaking, if you don't pay back your rina that you owe as an individual, then you might as well not have lived, not be alive. Kim swit gurutaram bhumehe, kim swit uchchataram chakhat, kim swit शीघ्रतरम vayoho, kim swit bahutaram trinat. So what is it? Kim swit bhumehe, on the earth. What is it that is more exalted than Guru? No, what is it that is the most exalted on the earth? On this earth. What is the most exalted? What is the tallest thing? Uchchataram. What is tallest? What is the tallest? Then even the khat is sky. So what is taller than the sky or the heavens? What is faster than the vayoho, than the wind? And what is bahutaram trinat? What is more abundant, more numerous than even the grass? For which he says, so Mata Gurutara Bhumehe Khat Pitochatarastatha Manashighradaram Vatat Chinta Bahutaram Trinat. So Mata Gurutara Bhumehe. Of all the things that are there on this earth, who is the most exalted? He says it is the mother, the Mata. Mata is the one by the definition, the word itself. The word itself means that, Manyate, pujyate iti sa mata. That which is, so that which is pujya, that which is worshipful is the one that is called Mata. So obviously, I mean, this is obvious. It is someone because of whom we are there. Mother is one person who is interesting, psychology teaches you to blame the mother for everything. So all the problems, it's not that the mother is responsible for all the problems. Mother is the one that has been there from the beginning. So in the blame game, who do we blame? So you blame the one who you goes back the farthest. So in any case, whether the mother, not every mother is Guru Taram also in terms of the way they treat their children sometimes. But in any case, for a person, mother is the greatest. Whether the mother is great or not is another issue. But then for a person, who is it that they want to be the greatest? It's always the mother. So there is something about the relationship with the mother, that mother in general always is the most accommodating. So whatever the person does, good or bad, even a sociopath, even a sociopath's mother will nobody, the fellow returns from jail. Nobody else in the family may accept him, but the mother will accept him back, in the same way. And the fellow also has nowhere else to go. He will go to his mother. Okay, so it is irrespective of what the person is. The mother is always the one who's the final refuge for any person, whether in reality or whether in our own mind. So in our mind, that is how we want it to be also. So thus, mother is definitely for any person, for any human being, mother is the one that is the final refuge, and also the one who one person feels the most secure in the presence of the mother. In the absence of that security is where a lot of sense of inner insecurity comes up. But that doesn't mean that that is not what a person seeks in life. So definitely, mother is the one who is most pujaha and the most venerable of all the people. Then Kimswit Uchataram Khat. Who's the tallest? Who's taller than even the sky, or taller than the heavens? He says, Pita, the father. So this is also again in the eyes of a person. Just look at this, from a child's standpoint. So whatever happens in the childhood is what really carries on in the whole lifetime, really speaking. It carries on in the very core of our being. So for a child also, Pita is the one who's the most powerful always, because he is the one who protects. Annadata Bhayatrata Yasya Kanya Vivahita Janita Chopaneta Cha Panchaite Pitarasprataha. So Pita, this is what Pita stands for. He's the Annadata. He's the one who is the provider for the family, for the child. He's the provider. Bhayatrata, he's the one who's the protector. So he protects me from fear. When you're afraid of something, you look for dad's protection. And then Yasya Kanya. So also in our tradition, so father is the one who gives away the Kanya, who does the Kanya Danam. Then he's the Upaneta also, the one who teaches. So for a Upanayanam, etc., father is the one who does Upadesha. So he is the teacher, and thus he is the progenitor, etc. So these are all the fivefold roles that a father is recognized in the mind of every person. So he is always the tallest person that can be there. the biggest person that can be there. Kim Swit Shigradaram. What is it that is faster than even the wind? So wind is pretty fast, but then even faster than the wind is he says Manaha. Where did it go? Manaha, the mind. Obviously. So the mind travels much faster than the wind travels. However fast the wind goes, the mind in an instant can be so from one place to the other place. Also, the wind moves around the earth pretty much, whereas the mind can go to so any end of the universe instantaneously. So the nothing else. This is sukshma. See, Vayu is sukshma, say compared to earth, etc. Whereas more sukshma, more subtle than the Vayu is the mind. So it travels much faster. Is the Shigrataram. And then finally he says Bahutaram, which is the most quantity wise, he says Chinta. Chinta, the worries. So when you are worried, if you are a worrier, there is no end to the worry. Because worry grows. It doesn't decline. It just becomes more and more. Generally we think of hair. So hair is the one that keeps growing. But even then, first of all, it is not more than the grass. Then the hair at some point goes down. There's a declension of hair growth. But then worry doesn't go down. The worry, the more hair you lose, the greater becomes your worry. But other than that, Chinta has a way of, it's a way of, what do you call that? Snowballing. So it has a snowballing effect. It becomes more and more. It feeds on itself, they say. Kim swit suktam na nimishati, kim swit chatam na chopati, kasya swit hridayam nasti, kim swit vege na vardhate. It's interesting. You wonder sometimes why he asked these interesting kind of questions. So, kim swit suktam na nimishati. What is it that, even though asleep, nimishati, nimisham is opening and closing the eyelids. Okay. So what is it that, so even though it is sleeping, it is not opening and closing the eyes. Okay. Then, and what is kimsvit jatam na? So being born, even having been born, see, any animal that is born is active, physically active, moves about. Nobody is born and then remains stationary. If something is born and then remains stationary, in fact, then you start getting worried. So maybe this thing may be stillborn. The sign of life is activity. So the person is, anything is born, any form of life is born, immediately it has to start becoming active. Otherwise, otherwise you think it is dead. So he says, what is it that is born, but then still doesn't move? You don't see any activity there. Kasyachit hridayamna. What is it that doesn't have a heart? Okay. And what is it that vegena vardati? That means what is it that moves? It moves very fast. It has speed. The more it has speed, it just increases in its strength. Okay. Generally, anything, the more speed that is there, you get tired. The faster an animal runs, then it gets tired after running. But here, there is something that keeps moving, but the faster it moves, the more its strength and energy increases rather than declining. So for which he says, Matsyaha Suptaha na Nimishati. So this is a cultural example. He thinks of the fish. So the fish, even though asleep, always has his eyes open naturally because it doesn't have eyelids, it doesn't have. So it always looks as though it is awake all the time. Now, fish is used as an example for this Atma. Atma, Alupta Drik. So Atma is sometimes called as Alupta Drik. Atma is, see, the person, I am awake and I am asleep. I open my eyes, I close my eyes. I am awake to the world and I am turned away. I am asleep to the world. These are my experiences. This is true for any form of life. But then, even though I am asleep and I am awake, there is one thing that never sleeps, and that one thing is the Atma. So, Atma is never, I am never asleep, even though I am unknown to myself, but Atma itself doesn't sleep because it is in the form of consciousness. It is that which lights up everything. In fact, even when I am asleep, that experience of sleeping is I cognize that on some level. Atma itself is always awake. It is called Alupta Drik. It is something that never closes its eyes. And so it is like a fish like. So the Atma's characteristic is like the eyes of a fish, or like a fish that is always awake, even though it may be sleeping. Okay. So good example. That is why even Bhagavan, no, the first avatara is so Matsya avatara. So he is as a fish, so he protected the Vedas. See, Vedas also stand for Atmajnana or self-knowledge. In self-knowledge, it is something that sustains. There is no waking and sleeping in that. The Veda knowledge of oneself sustains through the centuries, through the kalpas. So even though the whole in pralaya, when everything is resolved, everything goes to sleep, the Vedas don't disappear. Vedas don't disappear. They again manifest. They again manifest in the next cycle. And then the knowledge is also born again. As the Srishti comes into being, knowledge also comes into being. And because the Bhagavan knowledge resides in Ishvara, the same Ishvara is the one that again manifests. So the Vedas also again manifest. And the one that brings it to us is, it could have been anything, symbolically, any form, but it is in the form of a fish. The fish also is interesting. It is aluptadrik, it's always awake. So it's a very cultural example. Then another thing he says, Andam Jatam na Chopati. So the one that doesn't move after it is born is Andam. Andam is an egg. So that is the only thing. Egg born doesn't move. Any other form of life born, it moves. For the egg to move, that form of life to move, what does it have to do? It has to hatch again. Yeah. It has to be, that is a second birth. Dvijaha. Therefore, the Andam is a Dvijaha. It undergoes two types of births. It is the first birth is the birth of the egg. The second birth is the birth of the hatching. And only then the animal is able to function. And human beings also is like that on some level. So there is one birth, which is the first birth when we are born. And the second birth is what makes us the Dvijaha. Dvijaha is, so you get to get adhikaritva, maturity. So there is a birth and there is a maturity. There is growth and there is maturity. It's a two-step process for us. It's a two-step process. The first step is birth. So just because I'm born, it's just I can sustain myself. But then true birth for a human being is only when there is a second birth, which is in terms of maturity and knowledge. So for us also, birth is a two-step process. It's not a single-step process. Therefore, we have, that is what is symbolically represented by Upanayanam ceremony. So that is what makes me a adhikari. It qualifies me. The first birth is just a birth coming into being into the world. Then I have to get qualified in order to then be ready for my maturing process. So this two-step process is what is indicated by this, I think, by this question. Kasyasvit hridayam nasti. What is it that doesn't have a heart? He says Ashmanaha is a stone. Of course, the stone doesn't have a heart. In other words, I think so. Anything alive should have a heart. We also use this term even in English. They say is a stone-hearted person. The one who doesn't have a heart, the one who doesn't have empathy, the one who doesn't have feelings is a cold-hearted person or a stone-hearted person. He has no, we say he has no hridayam. We say he has no hridayam. He is heartless. The one who has heart, so he's called as, hridayalu. There's a word called as hridayalu. Hridayalu is a one who is a person who is compassionate, who has empathy for others. So that one is supposed to have that. Anyone alive has to have a heart. Otherwise, it is as good as being a inert object. Sometimes people think that sign of maturity means you have to be detached. So totally detached from everything. Being detached doesn't mean being heartless. Being detached is different thing. It is still one has to have that empathy. What is it that so in moving fast gathers more strength? He says Nadi. Nadi vegena vardhate. Nadi for us a river. The faster the river flows, the more it gathers. The more it gathers energy, the more it gathers speed. That's the nature of the river. It doesn't decline. And Nadi also stands for knowledge. So Ganga, Jnana Ganga. So because it is always fresh, like the knowledge, the ancestral knowledge, the traditional knowledge, scriptural knowledge that is coming down. So it's always fresh, it's always moving. And then the more it is given out, the more it grows. Okay. Knowledge doesn't decline, it just increases in its strength. Kim swit pravasato mitram, kim swit mitram grihe satah, आतुरस्य च किं मित्रं किं स्विन्मित्रं मरिष्यतः. So next, Yaksha's question has to do with friends. Mitram is a friend. Okay. So pravasataha. Pravasataha is so pravasi. We have that pravasi divas in India. There's a special day for all the Indians who have gone abroad. They are called pravasi, the one who goes to another country outside. But the word pravasi also refers to the travelers. So the people who are travelers, or even the merchants, etc. So he says, who's the friend of the people who travel in foreign lands, away from their homeland? He says, Sarthaha Pravasataha Mitram. Sarthaha is the one who is traveling with you. So for a person who's traveling, this is true. So when you go on, it's like when you go on a vacation. So when you go on a tour, nowadays a lot of people when you retire, this is one job that people find, keep themselves going. So you go on cruise ships and you go on all these tours. So in the tour, who's your friend? And then you make friendships. And these are all friendships that last during the tour only. They don't go beyond that. You become great friends for that 1 week. The new people, people who you don't know before, but then because you're all thrown together with a whole bunch of people, and then you need somebody, you need mutual support, etc. So you keep each other going, and so they become your friends. What are they called? Traveling companions. So he says, Sartaha, the people who are your traveling companions in pilgrimage also. We in our so they give the example of not vacationing cruises, but they give an example of pilgrims. So pilgrimage is like that. You go on a pilgrimage, and then the people who are always there is a group. Also in times of difficulty, so they help each other out. So they become your friends. He says, how about in your home? Who's your friend? So good friend in your own house. He says, Bharya Mitram Grihe Satah. So in one's own home, one's friend is the spouse. Bharya is the wife, but then also sends could be any spouse, either way, is the mitram. Tan mitram apadi sukhecha samakriyam yat. Mitram by definition, is defined as a person who is the one who is the support in apatkale, in times of difficulty and in times of joy, both. The person who who is your well-wisher and who's helpful to you, that person is called as a friend, or mitra. Aturasya bhishang mitram. So aturaha is a sick person or a disabled person. Who's the friend of a sick person? It says bhishang. Bhishang is the doctor, obviously. So the sick person's friend is the doctor who can cure him. And marishyataha mitram danam. Marishyataha, the one who is a dying person. What is the friend of a dying person? So is nothing. Danam means in terms of karma, What is it that is a companion that stays with you after you die? It is nothing other than, so it is your own actions, dharma, marga bandhu, the one who is accompanying you, the one who is education बोलते हैं नहीं, education नहीं, it is a companion, traveling companions. So marga bandhu, we have seen this. We all need a bandhu. You need a friend in life. Who doesn't need a friend? So somebody who one can count on. But then who is our friend? The real friend. The real friend is always in the whole travel, the spiritual travel, in the travel after life also. Who accompanies you? He says only, so the Lord in the form of dharma, in the form of dharma, in the form of our karmas. So that is the one that will always stay with me. So if it is punyam, it is something that is going to be, so anukulam, beneficial to me. It is papam, more of papam, it is going to be so antithetical, not beneficial to me. So thus the final bandhu is only in terms of karma and dharma. And so in order to gain punyam, what is one of the best ways to gain punyam is dhanam, So virtue, dhanam or charity is the way for gaining punyam. Also for prayashchittam also dhanam is prescribed. So thus for a dying person, dhanam is something which is considered very important. That's why in our culture, there's a lot of dhanam that is given when somebody dies. Either ideally, the best thing is for the person themselves to give dhanam before they go, when they know that their end is near. Or if they do not do it, if they cannot do it, then people afterwards will do dhanam in their name. That is why also in the samskaras, in the antima samskaras and all the other the rituals, etc., 13 days, there is a lot of dhanam that is given in the name of the departed person. So either directly or on their behalf. It's for this purpose. कोतिथि सर्वभूतानां किं स्विद्धर्म सनातनम् अमृतं किं स्विद्राजेन्द्र किं स्वित् सर्वमिदं जगत्. Atithihi. So what is the atithi? Who's looked upon as a guest for all beings, a welcome guest. Obviously, atithi is a guest who's welcomed, okay? Who's welcomed, not an unwelcomed. So then, what is the dharma? Sanatanam dharma. Sanatanam can be the one that has always been there. The dharma. What is the right thing? What is the right thing? What is righteousness in terms of that which has always been there? Which is that which always is right. There's another way of looking at it. Okay. So Amritam Kimswit, and what is considered to be Amritam or the nectar. Nectar of immortality also you can say. Or then what is it that pervades everything? What is it that pervades everything? Jagat, the whole universe. For which he says, so Sarva Bhutanam Atithihi Agnihi. Fire. Fire is the one that is all the bhutas, for all the beings, the one that is welcomed. I suppose, I guess in terms of I don't know, not very clear, but in terms of the comfort, comfort. So it is the guest that which always looking for. All creatures look for warmth, So all warm-blooded creatures, at least. The warm-blooded creatures also look for warmth. The cold-blooded creatures also look for warmth. So because the warmth is the one that makes you alive. And the New Yorkers, of course, look for warmth. The people living in the north look for warmth. So I don't know about the south people who have a lot of warmth. But then still, warmth is always something which is sought after by all beings, So he says, Sarva Bhutanam Atithihi is the welcome guest is Agni or fire. Somaha Gavamritam. Oh, so okay, the third question is the second one he answers. Okay. So Amritam. See, what is the Amritam? The nectar. He says for cow's milk. The cow's milk, again, for our agricultural background, the cow is the one that the cow's milk is so consumed in so many different forms, etc. So that is the one that is the most nourishing for people. So that becomes the nectar that keeps me alive. Then Amritaha Dharmaha. Dharmaha which doesn't end, that doesn't die, is the one that is Sanatana Dharma. In other words, the universal, what is called as the Samanya Dharma. Okay. Dharma is of two types, righteousness. There is a Samanya Dharma and the Vishesha Dharma. Okay. So what is right and what is wrong? There is a Samanya Dharma which is the universal right. That which is right for everybody. Like Satyam Vada, speak the truth it's a universal value, what we talk about, Satyam, Ahimsa, and so on. Then there are other values which are personal values. So he says the dharma that sustains, Amritaha means that doesn't die. Okay. The dharma that sustains all the time is the dharma that is the universal value, samanya dharma for us. So thus, which is what is talked about in the scriptures also. So when the scripture talks of values, they talk of satyam vada dharmam chara. So this, when we say live a life of dharma, it's talking about samanya dharma. Dharma which is true for all human beings. It's the same. It doesn't vary from person to person. This is something that doesn't die because it is born every time. Dharma doesn't change. Suppose even if the universe were to come to an end, and again if people are born, or if other beings are born, and if people have a choice, so and in if they have a free will, if they have a choice, then they will again have a right and wrong, and in that again they have to, so it will again be right to speak the truth, so in any kalpam also, even later on, in any, suppose we find life on another planet, and they also have free will, and they can make choices. For them also, I'm sure, so they will prefer the truth. So Satyam Vada will be true for always. So therefore, it becomes a dharma which never dies. It sustains time and again through cycles of creation. And in fact, our Sanatana Dharma is the Amrita Dharma. The Sanatana Dharma is the Dharma which doesn't come to an end, which sustains itself. It is part of creation. As long as there is free will, there is going to be a Sanatana Dharma built into that. So that built-in dharma, which is also called as Samanya Dharma, is the Amritaha Dharma. That is the non-dharma that doesn't die. And then, of course, the one that pervades the whole Jagat, he says, is Vayuhu. Or, so Vayu being the air, which is the Sukshma. So because it is in the most subtle form, it pervades everything. Okay. किं स्विदेको विचरते जातः को जायते पुनः किं स्वित् हिमस्य भैषजं किं स्वित् आवपनं महत्. So ekah vicharate, what is it that, who is it that travels alone, or what is it that travels alone? What is it that being born is born again? So you're born once, but then you're born again and again and again. So like that. What is that? What is himasya bhaishajam? What is the cure for cold? Cold. Cold here is temperature, not cold, the upper respiratory tract infection, not that cold. And kimsvid avapatam vavapanam mahat. What is the largest field, he says? Kshetra. No? So, Suryaha ekaha vicharate. Who's the one who travels alone? He says Suryaha. Sun travels alone. Nothing goes with him. So sun is the one, of course, who's traveling all the time. And he has no companions because he's very hot. He's very hot. So he has to go alone. In fact, so it is said even his wife can't tolerate his heat. Surya Devata so has a wife whose name is Sanya. Surya Devata was married to Samya. And then there is a story goes that at one point the heat, even Samya could not bear the heat of her own husband. He's so hot. So she had to get away. She had to get away from him. So she doesn't know how to, she's not supposed to do that. So what she does is, so she creates a clone. She creates a clone of herself. So another person, so who looks exactly like her. And her name is called Chaya. Chaya or shadow. Chaya means shadow. So then she goes away to her father's house and then leaves Chaya behind with Surya Devata. So there is, you see, wherever there is sun, there is going to be, so chaya is there, shadow is there. So shadow is a very interesting thing. Shadow is always with the sun, but she is not with the sun also. You know, shadow always is created on the other side. So it is cool. Shadow is cooler than the sun, but at the same time, the shadow is not there without the sun. It's a very interesting thing. So anyway, so his other wife is supposed to be Chaya. So first he doesn't know. So Surya Devata has some progeny with Samya, and then he has some progeny with Chaya, etc. But then later on he finds out and all, and so then the story is that eventually, so he finds out that she's an imposter. So once he discovers that, then she goes out of the picture, and that Samya comes back. But the point is here, even his own wife, Samya, was finding it difficult to be with him. He was so hot. So he's so much tejas is there in him that even when he travels day after day, he has to travel alone. You know. So Yudhishthira, I guess, thought of him. Then who is born again and again is Chandrama, our moon, Chandra Devata. So Chandra Devata is, as we know, so he is born on a full moon day. He's there, but then he is there for one fortnight. But then he has this curse. He was cursed. He was cursed that, so it's called, he with this illness, and the illness is called Kshaya Roga. Kshayam. He declines. So Kshaya Roga is he undergoes declension, and then he goes away, then he disappears, then again he's born, then again he disappears, so like that. So it is all because of one shapa that he got from Daksha, so he says Chandrama is the one who, even born, he is born, he has to be born again and again, because he goes through this declension. Agnihi himasya bhaishajam. What is it that is the cure, antidote for cold? Of course, you think of Agni or fire. And then Bhumihi, the biggest kshetra, the field of experience, really speaking, for the jivas. What is the kshetram? Which is the Bhumi, the earth, for the human beings. So the human beings and all other beings also, we are born on this earth for in order to experience life. So thus for him he says the largest field, the field of experience for us is this bhumi or the earth. Kim svidekapadam dharmyam, kim svidekapadam yashaha, kim svidekapadam swargyam, kim svidekapadam sukham. So what is the single means? Ekapadam is the single, one single thing. That is dharmyam. Dharmyam is it's a virtue. So what is one single thing? If you had to pick one single means or one single item. So for in terms of virtue, in terms of yashaha, yashas is fame, and swargyam. Swargyam is that which leads to heaven, leads to swarga, and that which leads to gives sukham or happiness. So in a relative sense, he's talking about, for which Yudhishthira says, so kakshyam ekapadam dharmyam. Kakshyam is translated as being liberal minded. Not quite clear what that means. So in any case, so it is something which is looked upon. So open mindedness, liberal mindedness, the willingness to think of things, okay, not being closed, is the one he identifies as a virtue. Okay. Then yashaha, for fame, He says Dhanam. Dhanam. What is true, What is it that gives fame in this world? The charity, charitable nature. That's why Karna. People like Karna and all, Rockefellers, they are known. They are known for their charitable nature. So giving, Dhanam is another big thing. Not only for yashas, but also for Prayashchitam, which we talk about. And then, as we know, in Dhanam, there are many things. Dhanam is not just simply giving. So, Dhanam becomes a virtue only when it is given in a certain way. Not just the fact of, not, first of all, Dhanam should not be for the sake of yashas. Dhanam is not meant to be given in order to get fame or in order to become famous, as charity is given sometimes. So with charity, giving charity becomes an event. If you want to give a check, see, if you want to give, the way the check is given also is very interesting. So they do this fundraisers and all. So if you give a small check, you don't generally like to be anonymous. If you give the bigger the check, the more it is broadcast. So that is giving, that is dhanam for the sake of yashas. Even though dhanam gives yashas, but the purpose of dhanam should not be fame. The purpose of dhanam should be dhanam. It's just a matter of giving. So there are many attitudes that are connected to charity, which are important also, rather than just a matter of giving. Dhanam is also, so Bahir, what exactly is Dhanam? He says. So that which is Bahir Vediyam, that which is outside the Veda, that is given is called as Dhanam. So in other words, so for example, when I do a prayer or when you do a ritual, we give something at the end of the ritual to the priest. What you give to the priest is not called dhanam. So what we give to the priest is called dakshina. Yeah. Because that is not bahirvediyam. Vediyam is that which is in the injunction. So in the scripture, Vedic means, suppose you're doing a prayer. If I'm doing a prayer or a ritual, that part of that prayer, one of the steps is giving something, is giving a dakshina. That is part of the karma. Okay. It's called karmangam. It is one of the angas, one of the limbs of the particular ceremony is giving dakshina. So if I do not give dakshina, for example, at the end of the religious ceremony, that means the ceremony is incomplete. It is incomplete. So the phalam also is not complete. Okay. So there, that which is a part of the religious ceremony called as an anga is not called dhanam, that is called as dakshina. That has to be done. Otherwise the yajna or the ceremony is incomplete. And they will say that also. So Hiranya Garbha Garbhastham Hema Bijam Vibhavasoho Ananta Punya Padam Ata Shantim Prayachame. So Adya Krita. So whatever karma he does, karmangam sadgunyartham. So idam hiranyam brahmanaya aham samprade. He says karmangam. Idam hiranyam. So whatever this karma I have done, this is an anga of that. So this anga of that, this is what I am giving you. May the ritual be complete. So like that, actually, that's what you say when you give the dakshina to the priest. So that is outside. That is outside. Anything outside of this, when it is given, that is called as dhanam. Anything within this which is given is called as dakshina. So thus he says in giving dhanam also, one has to be careful. So it has to be given in a certain way. There are certain things to keep in mind. Maybe we'll have a look at that next time a little bit and then continue. We'll do this verse again. next class. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.